Today I want to react to Aasim Iftekhar's weekly live Q&A. There were questions about Muharram, theology, paradise, and Islamic history, but one exchange stood out because I think it exposes a much deeper issue than the crucifixion itself. A caller asked about Jesus' crucifixion. Aasim acknowledged that the overwhelming majority of historians conclude Jesus was crucified. I appreciated that honesty. He didn't pretend historians secretly support the Islamic position. Instead, he accepted the historical consensus and rejected it because the Qur'an says otherwise. For me, that is where the interesting discussion begins. History is imperfect. Historians disagree, and evidence is often incomplete. I'm not saying historians are infallible, but if we claim they are wrong, we should have historical reasons for saying so. We should be able to point to better documents, stronger evidence, or a superior historical explanation. Simply saying the Quran says otherwise assumes the conclusion before the historical investigation even starts. That raises a broader question. What should we expect from a revelation given by the creator of the universe? My expectation is simple. I would expect revelation and reality to become more harmonious as humanity learns more. As an all-knowing God should not repeatedly leave sincere investigators with evidence that appears to point in the opposite direction. The discussion naturally reminded me of the Quranic story that Jesus was raised into heaven. Notice how naturally that story fits, and it fits an ancient picture of the universe. Heaven is above us. Angels come down from above. Jesus is physically taken upward. One day he will physically descend again. That picture would have made complete sense to people living in the 7th century. Today our understanding of the cosmos is different. Up is not a single destination in the universe, it is simply a direction relative to Earth's gravity. Because of this, many Muslims now explain that heaven is another dimension outside our observable universe. Perhaps that is possible. But would Muhammad's original audience have understood the story that way? Or would they simply have imagined Jesus disappearing into the heavens above? That question matters because I want to understand the text as its first audience understood it, not through interpretations developed after modern astronomy. Now pause and imagine the implications if the story is taken literally. Jesus has supposedly existed in bodily form for almost 2,000 years. What is that existence like? Does he experience time? Does he eat, sleep, converse? What does it even mean for a physical human body to exist outside the observable universe? These are not mocking questions, they are natural consequences of the narrative. Yet the Quran says remarkably little about this extraordinary claim. To me, this is a reflection of a broader pattern. Whether it is the crucifixion, Jesus ascending into heaven, or other passages, I repeatedly see a text that fits comfortably within the worldview of late antiquity. As our knowledge expands, believers increasingly reinterpret these passages to preserve harmony with modern knowledge. I understand why they do that, but it leaves me with one question. If this book truly comes from the creator of reality, why does it so often sound exactly like what its first audience would have expected reality to look like? The key fact from today's livestream is that Aasim accepted the mainstream historical conclusion that historians believe Jesus was crucified, yet rejected it because revelation takes precedence. The takeaway I hope you leave with is this. A revelation from God should illuminate reality, not become progressively harder to reconcile with history and our growing understanding of the universe.